Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for everyone who was able to make it to the meeting today. Please bless this board and the decisions that we make for the citizens of Barling. Please, Lord, watch over our fine, wonderful city. In Jesus' name, amen. All righty, let's do a roll call.
Aaron Rowe.
Here.
John Manus.
Here.
James Davis.
Here.
Savannah Robinson.
Here.
Ken Cauley.
Here.
Bill Young.
Here.
Ron Sharon.
Here.
Here, has everybody been able to look at the minutes from the May 14th meeting? We would like a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion that we approve them as printed.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same. Ayes have it. All right, anyone from the public here like to talk about agenda items? No? What did I forget? Nothing, I'm used to messing up at least once. No unfinished business. Let's
Shall be constructed on the lot between the front
So,
building line. and
Let's
the
go
building.
to new business. Consideration of estimates to repair the 1995 Freightliner pumper truck. Mr. Steve?
You will find in your packet the memo and letter from Tom, and he has documented, as I asked him to go back and look for the repair methods and documented the case of each one. And this is an audit type item that you have to do. And if you look, it's pretty blank. You can't fix it unless you have it apart to look and see what's really wrong with it, and that's the comment. I think that the better thing is to go using Siddons Martin at Conway. They have done work for us before, and I believe that that would be the best way. One of our volunteers has the capability of towing the truck with tractor trailer and taking it to Little Rock for $1,000 cost. We use this truck is the backup, and it's number 3, and it is the original backup number 2, but it is now 3, so we do need it.
Alrighty, any discussion?
I have a question. I'm not gonna go ahead. This is if everything else in the truck's fixed, then this is the quote. What if something else is wrong? Does Tommy have to come back to us again with another bid? Can we allocate more money in case something else is wrong?
You can allocate more money, or we can just say, hey, we'll have it not to exceed, and that way you know that you have enough in case there's some hickey when you get in there. You don't know, and you're right, you won't know till you get in there. But this is probably, at least we've got knowledgeable people that are looking at it. And that's, it is equipment, it is beyond the 10,000 that you have for me, and we wanted to be sure that you all had a look to see what we were doing, and you do know how, why, and when. And I would recommend, probably in the best case to do is set 15,000, and in case we hit something, we hit a hickey, and we don't know.
So you're saying about 36,000?
No, 15 total.
Oh, 15 total, okay.
Yeah.
Got it, all right.
We're ready for a motion, or? I move that we approve the repair of the pumper truck, regardless of what it costs, within reason.
I think you ought to put a limit on it.
Yeah, not to
Let's
exceed
put
15.
20. Let's put 15.
15, let's leave 15. Yeah.
All right. Motion to approve and not to exceed 20,000.
Second.
Got a second from Ken. Roll call vote.
Aaron Rowe.
Yes.
John Manus.
Yes.
James Davis.
Yes.
Savannah Robinson.
Yes.
Ken Cauley.
Yes.
Bill Young.
Yes.
Ron Sharon.
Yes.
Gonna get the truck fixed. Department head reports. Let's start with Brian.
No big
hiccups. Thursday night went well. No major accidents or reports. I don't know if y'all know or not, but the convenience store at
Strozier and 22.
Strozier and Ford Street was broke into the other day. Jamar had been through there earlier and it was fine. Came back through and noticed glass outside the door. Went in, actually caught someone in there loading up tobacco and vape products. Made an arrest on that.
One down there, the one down at Cameo?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's it, Squirrel, is that what it's
Yeah.
called this week?
Right.
We've had a couple little things happen as far as smash and grabs. One, the latest one was down at Spring Hill Park. Couple walks down the ramps as they hear a glass break, go back up, and somebody's grabbed a purse out of the truck. There's little things like that, and I'm saying that the point is I'd encourage y'all to pay attention to the population. It's growing, and you know we have 7 patrol officers out on the street. There's 10 of us total, but our
Can't be everywhere.
right, and then on the weekends, during the days, during the week, among the investigators, I heard here on the weekends, you still got an officer out by herself, and you know that stuff's happening on the weekend. People's out rolling around lurching, so just food for thought.
Did that happen in bright daylight?
Yeah, and the store too.
Are we ready for the July 3rd traffic and all that? Knock on wood. All right, Tommy?
For the month of April, we had 6 fire calls, 64 medical, and 20 public service for a total of 90 runs. Average response time was 2 minutes, 19 seconds. We doubled up one time for a total of 2 runs. We made 1 call out of the city to Central City for a medical call, and they completed their hydrant testing, and hydrant painting will begin in June. That's all I got.
Matt?
I've noticed Manfred's in town doing the sewer repairs and Cameo. After that, he'll be going to the lift station to finish that. I don't know if y'all have heard about the light at Mahogany, but we've had several phone calls, and it's been repaired again.
Good.
But it's equipment failure, and it's statewide. It's not just that light. I think it's, I don't know if it's warranty or what, but there's 15 of them that keep going bad. But they've repaired
That's on the
them.
light going
Yes,
east that stays on red for
yeah,
ever. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
it's picking up Mahogany, but there's nobody there.
Exactly.
All righty, we're getting ready for July 3rd, and they getting it mowed and everything, and, okay. All right, best for last, right?
That's right. During the month, we've had a large increase, of course, in grass violations with all rain and mowing. A couple of things to note, the squirrel property, I've sent out letters to them, we've got them kicked back, nobody's accepted them, I made phone calls, it's just non-existent anymore. So, I will tell you that. Also, the lagoon that guy had purchased through the state auction, I've sent him a letter also for maintenance on the lagoon. He actually signed for it, but I've had no response from him either, so that's kind of where we're at on that.
So what's our next step when they don't respond or you can't?
So what we'll do, our next step is after, we'll probably wait till the end of the week, and then after the end of the week, we're gonna probably contract cut and put a lien against the property. That's the next step, because there's no way to know whether they're gonna actually ever come and do any of
Sure.
it. So we'll just move forward, we'll hire somebody, brush hog the lagoon, have somebody mow the gas station, and we'll just move forward with that through Matt, so.
All righty. Mr. Steve?
We got several things we want to cover. One is there, you'll see an Arkansas DOT update in your package. The other day at the meeting that I went to that I told you about, these are the projects that are coming along, and you can see they have a full house out here with this resident office. And this is pretty much straight arrow to how it is. They should be going over to Midland Boulevard Bridge, almost, if the weather cooperates, we can get going on it and finish Garrison Avenue. The Greenwood bypass is, they were hunting rock to fill in that bottom down there the other day. If you'll notice, there is one that affects us, and that's the resurfacing of 540 between Highway 22 and I-40, and this will be Emery Sapp and Sons, and this is an outfit out of Missouri that's doing a little bit of everywhere in Arkansas. The big thing is you're going to see some traffic, Brian, like crazy. People try to dodge that when they get going on it. And it's going to be done at night, and that will be a blessing, I think, although I have some doubts about night work. The other thing, if you look way down at the bottom of that, you'll see that project 040901, and that's Interstate I-49 from Highway 22 to Gun Club Road. And they're planning on a letting in the fall of 2024. They haven't got going on the other out there yet. Now, Matt has submitted, and they have, you'll see a local state aid job we have turned in for Pine Meadow. That's Meadow Lane and Pine Lane. We've turned in for D Street over by the grade school. We've turned in for 3rd Street, which is across from where, between where Bob and Wanda's is, and we've turned in for the only thing of 1st Street, which starts down and it parallels 59 Highway, for the state aid to get those done. And the letter has gone down, and hopefully we'll have some success. The other thing is, I'm sure you all have followed the ongoing deal about the FCRA, and I will tell you that they had a highway department blockage of the access road. We've got that at least untangled. They had driven to grade steel, iron, green iron, to keep you off the road going back up to the grenade range, which kind of put a kink in our sampling, and so they made us some accommodations now, and they pulled it out and they sandbagged it where we can get through to get, if we have to. And there is one other place that we can get in to get to the lagoons. We have the auditor here with us now. That's what the handout letter is. And Travis is here from the state of Arkansas, and this is the audit except for the water and sewer. And the water and sewer audit is done by Bill Boyd, and it's already underway. This is the audit for the general fund, and the dedicated other funds is assigned. And we have, there's only a 1-year period in this audit. The last time they were here for 2 months, and we had 2 years done. Yes, sir.
All righty. Anybody have any announcements?
I attended a meeting the other day where they were talking about how long it was gonna take to go from Barling to Alma with the interstate and the bridge and everything. And the engineer that was present said 8 years. So sort of give you all an idea of what their time frame is, according to their guest about a week ago.
So I have a question about the FCRA. I mean, we all read the resolution that they put out. What's next?
There is a meeting to be held with the beneficiaries, and we will be sitting down to go over what our plans are. You have seen for those of you that have not seen the Greenwood meeting or the Quorum Court meeting that's available, they're worth looking at, and we will plan our next course of action. There is a difference of opinion about where we're going to meet, and the FCRA wanted us to meet out there, and we want to meet downtown and at the city of Fort Smith. And right now, I would say that since there's 4 of us and 2 of them, well, we're going to meet downtown, and that is to be set up. And I will probably hear more about that on Monday, the 3rd. I've got to go to a design review committee, and that's probably one of the last design review committee meetings we'll have. And,
Yeah, so basically, the quorum court was the last ones to vote, and they voted for the resolution to dissolve. So all 4 are in favor of dissolving. So now it's to get FCRA to a wind-down period and have their board vote. Once they vote to dissolve and all that, that's what it comes down to. It's all up to them now.
What they wanna do, right?
Well,
It's-
here's-
It's up to whatever they decide, right?
with a stroke of a pen, the governor can dissolve that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but right at the moment, though, it's.
At the moment,
It's
yeah.
what the
I just
FCRA
keep
decides.
Seeing the ball being hit back and forth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and nobody's winning the game, except them.
Yeah, so, yeah.
It's up to what they decide.
Yeah, June the
Listen.
10th, when we all get in that room and discuss what needs to be done, I think everybody will be all on board on how to get this done. There's gonna be some disagreement on one side or the other, but, you know,
But at the end of the day, it's what they want,
Absolutely.
unless we go higher.
right,
That's right.
yep. Election year.
And it's always easy to say, hey, we tried to work it out with them, but they.
Well, unless you want, we're talking about spending money, if you keep moving on, you're gonna start spending money on this
Yeah,
too.
we're trying to take the least expensive route right now, basically.
But
That's what
if
it
it
comes
draws
down
on,
to.
then that's what
Yeah.
that's what it means.
Right.
The quorum court was described as firmly in interrogatory mode. They were not taking prisoners for answers or lies or abuse. And I don't know all that transpired, because there was probably some other stuff that was spoken among, but I know enough of the quorum court members that they've had it up to here. Their idea is they want to go at the end of 2025. I'm ready to go at the end of 2024. That's what I want, and I think it, because if we wait anymore, they'll just fritter more money away. Right now, there's the question of the money that they were gonna give to the nature center out there, and that's a state project.
I thought they already gave it.
I don't think the check's been written. If it has, there's probably gonna be somebody looking for the money, okay? The other thing is, the deal that I see about the rebuying. If somebody in this doesn't get the development done and that property is reclaimed by the trust, and they have to pay for any improvements that may have been done but are incomplete, they'll turn around and sell the property again, and the 2% bonus will be again. They've been paid once for selling it. And you say you resell somebody that was brought back, here goes 2% more.
But those folks know when they buy that stuff, they know that you've gotta develop it. I mean, it's not a hidden secret,
Well, it's true, but there's also that some of that property was bought and couldn't be worked on because they were gonna work on the bypass.
We got a bunch of it right down here on the corner down here.
That's right. You got it. And it's gonna be resold at some time in the future.
Yep.
Do you get 2% every time you turn something over? No. You don't, do you?
Lose 2%.
Well, you don't see it in a repo.
I'm just to the point where they're 10 years too long of having them. And there's some other things the one thing that I kinda honed in on is on the master plan. I'm gonna talk about the water tower on the east side of Barling. On their master plan, it shows some kind of water tower to help development on the east side of Barling, and that would be on that property just west of the park. And I sent an email out, hey, would you guys be willing to help with the cost of the water tower in future development? And they acted as if they didn't know anything about it. So obviously, the master plan is, they're not even looking at that, and helping develop the stuff and the infrastructure. So we'll just go it alone.
So Matt, what happens next?
Wait.
Everybody,
I looked at cost on a new water tower like we've got, and an engineer said it'd be $2.2 to $2.5 million. So, sort of gives you an idea what kind of money we could spend real easy.
To answer your question, I mean, in the immediate future, the plan is to get together. Now, I get a lot from a lot of different sources, including the media, including Steve and Greg and guys who are talking to the people and in these meetings and all that. And what I get from them is that they want to meet. I read just today that I guess they had nixed, the FCRA had nixed the press being there. The press had made a request that if y'all are gonna get together and talk about this, we'd like to sit and just listen and report on what was said. And Daniel Mann said, no, that's not going to happen.
who is he to make the rule?
That's exactly what my point was.
So, well, and again, the article went on to say that this is not a quorum of a public body, that this is just the leaders of each of the four entities getting together, and this is something that's not subject to the FOIA. And according to Michael Tilley, anyway, Michael agreed in the article and said, I agree that this doesn't fit into the four corners of the FOIA.
What if the members of the beneficiaries want the media there?
We agree.
Well, everybody else has said yes,
Yeah.
no.
Does everybody have to agree, or is it a majority?
Don't know. I read that this morning. That was in this morning's Talk Business. That everybody, and when I say everybody, I guess Gefkin had said he has no problem with it. Tilly had gotten a hold of Gefkin, and if Gefkin didn't have any problem, certainly we wouldn't have any problem with it. I don't think Greenwood or the Quorum Court would either.
The only way this is gonna resolve in the form that it's in right now is from public pressure.
Exactly.
And
Well,
public
and
pressure will happen
again-
when everybody knows what's going
And
on.
if you'll recall, what I have been saying for months is that how do you get things like this to work? You put pressure on. You talk to me, I mean, apparently I got brought up and black flagged in the FCRA meeting because I suggested that very thing. You know, you got Matt Ketchum out there telling people that they need to talk to the members of the board at the trust. Well, yeah.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
exactly what needs to happen. So, and they didn't like that idea, because why? That's how you get things done. You lobby, you do it just like any other governing board. You lobby the members of the board that make the decision, and you convince them that your position is more right than the opposite position. So, looking long-term, I think John's on it, you know, I mean, if everybody wants to pitch in and everybody rolls up their sleeves and there's a big lawsuit between the four beneficiaries and the trust, there'll be a big lawsuit between the beneficiaries and the trust. And we can see if the governor has authority to do anything about it, or, you know, something like that. I mean, I've heard different theories kicked around, but I've not seen anybody move forward yet saying, hey, I think this is it right here. I've gotten some references sent to me about, you know, a theory or so, but I don't see anybody kicking the ball off yet saying, you know, under this statute, you're wrong and we're going to sue. Now, it may come to that, but the way it's written, and we've all known this, the way that thing was written, and that's nobody's fault in this room, because nobody was around when Barling agreed to it, or Greenwood agreed to it, or Fort Smith, or Quorum Court agreed to it. They were given ultimate authority on if they exist at all, and if so, for how long. You know, it must take a vote of the trust. Coming full circle, back to the public pressure, of course, they had not given this any thought until somebody mentioned, you know, hey, we need to do this, and then Barling acted first, Fort Smith acted second, and so on and so on. The last domino fell with the quorum court, so now they're wanting to get together and talk in a professional manner. Okay, well, that's progress, that we've gone from, no, we're not disbanding, to we'll do it on our own time, to, okay, well, let's meet with the 4 beneficiaries and let's see if we can agree on a timetable and some things like that. So if you're looking for advancement, it is advancing. The issues are narrowing down, probably not as fast as any of the beneficiaries would like, but certainly a lot faster than the trust had ever considered, because they hadn't considered it at all. Until, you know, if we had to set anything, it would have probably operated in perpetuity. Just till whenever the last piece got sold, you know. But, I mean, it is moving, it's moving slowly, and, you know, again, they're aware of the public pressure, they have agreed to meet, you know, but if that's, you know, if being.
It just seems like a big game.
Well, if
Right now
if
it is.
being unable to
Like
even
big
decide
game.
where you're gonna meet is any indication, you know,
Yeah.
you can see that the two sides are not actually lined up. If we can't even agree where we're gonna have the meeting, I mean, you know.
Hard to agree on anything, isn't it?
So, I mean, it's,
Let's just get to the June 10th, get to the meeting, see where we're at after that. But I think we can make a little headway at that meeting, I really do.
at least there's going to be a meeting in 2 weeks. We'll see what comes of that. And maybe it's nothing, I don't know. But there's a meeting in 2 weeks, you know, which is more than what we had, you know, this time last year.
Meanwhile, y'all can talk to Chuck Peacock, cause he's one of the trust members.
I have.
Okay, bend his ear.
And here's one of my favorite things about Barling that I wish the FCRA would adopt. Public input on non-agenda items of whatever you'd like to talk about. Mr. Blake, would you like to come and speak?
Some of y'all, you remember me, I've been involved in this from the beginning. And we felt like at the time, we saw what was happening, and we felt like that somebody had to step up, or this thing would have just ran out until there was not any money left. And that's where it was headed, and it's still headed that way. If you look, if you read between the lines right now, they're gonna go through every dime out there. And it's all for self-benefit, you know, the whole thing, the 2%, you get 2% taking people's property back, you get 2% selling it. I mean, the quorum court pinned him down on that the other night, and he had to admit that he was getting 2% both directions. Well, he said, well, they're working toward removing it now, on the taking back, but not on the selling the real estate.
What a racket.
Then. an
This been going on for, how many years has this been?
Almost 30?
Yeah, I mean, and that, just now, everybody wants to get nasty about it at the end.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
there
yeah.
was no daylight shined on it until.
I mean,
That's
there,
the
evidently
problem.
there was daylight, you know, all these years, and nobody ever jumped on it.
Yeah, it's exposed now. The weight of the 4 beneficiaries, even though it says that the governor has to shut it down, or there's a few avenues, well, there is more, we know that. But the weight of the 4 beneficiaries coming together is huge. They never thought that the 4 beneficiaries would recognize the issues, the problems. And there's gonna be more problems before it's over with. I mean, it'll end up being legal before it's over with. And it's already getting that way right now, but like I said, the 4 beneficiaries sticking together and coming together, quorum court, like Steve said, was a big deal the other night. And they asked some relevant questions of it. And, you know, they're trying to load the board up now out there with certain individuals to provide basically cover from the beneficiaries, where you know, if you can get enough people on the board that'll sit there and go along with it, it'll just keep on running down the road. When you gotta give a $500,000 donation to the Game and Fish, and then put a board member or on the board, put somebody from the Game and Fish, well, what do you think's gonna happen? Then you put that 500,000 under the line item, construction and development. Well, that's a capital expenditure. That's not FCRA capital expenditure, but the board, all they had to do was vote on the budget. It was hid in the budget under that. It wasn't even a line item. A couple of the board members said they didn't even know they were voting on it. But that's how this has gotten now. The Quorum Court nominated a local realtor, y'all know him, Mr. Fawcett. Highly qualified, highly respected, has no property out there, built the first subdivision, actually wrote some real estate law. And they asked him the other night, said, we unanimously sent you a candidate that we would recommend, but you brought us somebody else. And then and he wasn't good enough for them. But they put him on the Real Estate Review Committee, which is a non-binding vote. But when asked if that was a voting seat, oh yeah, it's a voting seat. Well, they finally pried it out of him. Well, no, it's not either. You need to tell us the truth. He had to admit it wasn't a vote, but they pushed Mr. Fawcett back, but brought somebody that actually was a church member of the chairman of the board. And that's all that's going on at this point now.
I'm trying to figure out what the board, what role they play and what are they getting out of this? Because it doesn't make any sense that all of the beneficiaries come together and agree, but they're so headstrong in not doing anything that the four beneficiaries want. It doesn't make any
That's a
sense.
good question, and we hear it all the time. We hear it all the time.
I was on the board for 4 or 5 years. I was a volunteer. A lot of times, we would look at the budget, spend an hour, 2 hours on it, and it was easy to pass. Like he says, it's easy to slip things under different titles. You don't know what you're voting on. You can ask questions, but, you're asking a bunch of volunteers to do a whole bunch of work, and it doesn't work that way.
Well, they got rid of the realtor. They didn't want that oversight. They didn't want a realtor questioning decisions. So they flushed him out, flushed out the bank president, flushed out the civil engineer that always attended the meetings. Then you give the executive director 2% because the realtor was getting 6 to 8%. Well, there was a reason. 6 or 8% includes advice, contract development, closing, that sort of thing. Now you've got somebody that's unqualified, not a licensed realtor whatsoever, making decisions on the beneficiary's behalf when the beneficiaries should come together and say, we want a realtor on that board right now. They've actually said in a board meeting more than once, more than one board member, when it was a real estate issue, leaned back and goes, well, I don't even know what we're voting on here. I'm not a realtor. I have no idea what it's worth. I mean, that's not good representation of the four beneficiaries right there alone.
I think part of this meeting that we have on June 6th ought to be, the idea ought to be thrown out that a member of each one of the beneficiaries is part of the board.
They are, aren't they?
Supposed to be.
Do they, why would they not be?
The mayor is an ex officio member of the town.
So they're just not voting? Is that
Voting.
what you're saying?
No. Now, and you'll find when we go to the design review committee, that we would find that something had been sold or approved by the real estate review, and it was peddled, and it might not have been the number one thing that the city of Barling or Greenwood or the county thought should have been there. In other words, it was like playing poker, and you don't know what the other guy's hand may be, but your hand is up on the cards where you can see it right there. You're hamstrung, and if you look, the design reviews are down to a dull roar now, down to landscaping and siding and stuff like that. But the earlier stuff was they spent the money and had a hired master plan, a land use plan for the land out there. Barling had a zoning map, couldn't use it because they couldn't zone anything until the land was sold. And so that's how come the planning commission has had to go over stuff, and then it gets zoned. There was a hamstring from the start.
How do you sell land, or who wants to buy land when they don't know what it's zoned for?
Because they had a land use, but they adjusted the land uses as it went, because I sat there and watched it happen. And they would make a motion and the board would approve it, and they would adjust the land use pattern. That's how we did not forget that that hilltop out there going out 59 was for a water tower. It was blocked in the land use because of some prospective developments at one time out there. And that land, that was to have equal flow with minimum plumbing and minimum pumping systems to where you have a balanced flow if you need it. Now, until Greg sent the flag out to them, they just plunged right on down the way and were gonna try to market the hilltop, which is set. And you kinda gotta stop and think about something that was said, and that is who was on the board and whether or not they really understood what was going on. And, you know, you can have howdy doody over here and a hand over here, and you don't know. So that's something that goes with it.
Has there not been more progress in the past 5 years than there was the whole 20 years before?
Not necessarily, because the infrastructure hadn't caught up and they're having to catch that up. It's easy to sell, and we could have sold a lot of land earlier. We had numerous people asking about it, but they sold it in large blocks to developers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we had people that wanted sections in particular for whatever purpose, and Rod will tell you, they just went right on by.
They actually told us, and I've watched them tell other developers, they're not participating in infrastructure. I mean, he'll flat out tell you, that's not what they're
Who?
investing in. And Insure Trust
Who's
tells
tell
you,
you that?
you're here for the benefit of the beneficiary.
Who's saying that?
Daniel Mann. But it says that they're for the benefit of the beneficiaries, and that the money generated is supposed to go back in the infrastructure and development to market the property and sell it off, which is oil, gas, water, sewer, that sort of thing. And I wanna just mention one more thing, and I'll quit bothering y'all. I know the ex officio issue is like, you don't have to be a Barling employee or board member. Barling can nominate an ex officio. They don't even have to be a city resident. I'd like to ask the board to consider another ex officio along with Greg and Steve. Because I know Greg has a job and sometimes Steve is tied up. I'd like you to consider Steve Bean. Steve Bean is very thorough, and as far as financially, he asks very hard, relevant questions. I know Greg and Steve have both seen him out there. Steve was involved when the property lines, he knows about the water tower issue. He helped put all this in place when he was a board member of this board. And he would be a good board ex officio to sit in at that table and ask hard questions to those trustees out there. And he's tried, and they wouldn't let him talk. And I know these two men have seen it firsthand. And it's not like he's asking questions that don't need to be asked. But I'd just like y'all to think and consider that, because I know the other beneficiaries are looking at the same thing. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Went over just a little bit on the 2 minutes, but I think it was well worth it, so we'll just go ahead with that. No, you're quite all right. Good information there.
Yeah, if it was supporting.
And yes, if all of you would mull over the ex officio, if y'all would like another one, because like he said, I do have another job. I can't make it all the time, but the ones that I have made Steve does ask the hard questions that they really don't like answering. So that's just something for us to mull over right now. Other than that, Mr. Ron, would you do the honors?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? Got a second? All those in favor say aye. We are adjourned. Folks, have a wonderful, great day.